Hello and welcome back to Dodger Debate. I'm Jack Harris, the LA Times Dodger beat writer, along with our columnists Bill Plaschke and Dylan Hernandez. Guys, we're in a different location tonight, but it was not a different result for the Dodgers. They lose Game 2 of the NLDS 4-2. They're now facing elimination as the series shifts back to Arizona for Games 3 and 4 on Wednesday and Thursday. There was another short start from Bobby Miller, who gave up 3 runs in the first. There was a lot of missed chances from the offense, which is struggling in a way that has become very familiar for this franchise in Octobers. And they're once again staring down another early exit here, needing to win 3 straight games to salvage this series in advance. Bill, you just said off camera you're in shock. What is going on right now?
I'm in shock. I just thought it would never. I thought they'd at least win one of these first 2 games.
You thought they were going to win the World Series.
I'm standing by that. The greatest comeback in the history of baseball is happening. Believe it.
You don't sound quite as convicted as you did last night.
But you know what? It's what Dylan's been saying, and I've written this before too. The starting pitching, when you get behind 6 runs one game, 3 runs the next game in the first inning, the whole offense goes in shock. It's like they were still in shock from yesterday, from Saturday night.
You got to give some credit to Gallen, obviously. Yeah. Where he threw a lot of pitches, I thought, that were just a little bit off the plate, right? They were close enough that you could kind of swing at. I don't really know.
Starting with the first at-bat to Mookie Betts,
right,
who chased a pitch just off the plate for a flyout.
Yeah, and there were a lot of these that were just kind of right on the edge, right? Where you really had to actually look at the pitch FX thing to see if it was a strike or not. So, again, that type of situation, all of a sudden, I do think guys were kind of starting to press a bit, right? And starting to expand the zone a little bit more, and now they kind of find themselves 2-0 with Lance Lynn going, right? The fact that Lance Lynn is the stabilizing force of this rotation, I think says,
piggyback.
Yeah. And I mean, here I am making fun of the small desert town in Phoenix, whatever, but I mean, it's the Dodgers who have put together a real small market rotation, right? I mean, this is like what the Oakland A's you would think would throw out there.
Yeah. It's killed them. I thought it was interesting. Lavello was talking about people were surprised he took Gallen out in what was it, the sixth inning. But he said he knew the Dodgers had a shallow bench, and he emptied the Dodgers bench, and he had them right where he wanted them. It's just, to your point, Dylan, what works over the course of a summer does not work in a short season playoff.
Yeah, and again, I think that over the years, right, I mean, the fact that, again, were coming into, at least they went into September with their top 2 pitchers, were from the previous regime. Right? I mean, Ned Colletti hasn't been here in 10 years, and he was responsible for acquiring not just the number 1 guy, but also the number 2 guy, which again says just kind of what you have to know about this rotation, right? And again, it just kind of kept getting gradually a little bit less. Obviously, their Rios suspension killed them, but it's not a priority in this organization. Starting pitching is not a priority, right? I mean, you look at the minor leagues, especially at the early levels. I mean, how's a guy ever going to learn how to pitch 3 times through the order when he's throwing 3 innings down there, right? I mean, it's just not going to happen. And again, I just think it's just too much to cover. I just didn't think it was going to happen this early. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't, that said, I wouldn't be totally shocked if we're back here on Saturday for a Game 5. I mean, it's entirely possible. But again, right, it's when you project out that it becomes really problematic. How are they going to get through the NLCS? How would they get through the World Series? I just don't see them being able to do this.
And to go through this game, this was the good version of having a bad start but still being able to salvage it. Dave Roberts said yesterday, I'm going to treat Game 2 like a Game 7. That's what he did. Bobby Miller got in trouble in the first, gave up the 3 runs. The minute there was trouble in the second inning, he didn't just go to the bullpen. He went straight to Brusdar Graterol, one of their high-leverage relievers. That was followed by a couple innings from Ryan Brazier, a couple innings from Joe Kelly, a couple innings from Evan Phillips. And even on a night where the starting pitching put him behind the 8 ball but didn't sink them like it did in Game 1, the offense was unable to come around. And I think, to your point, Dylan, for all of the flaws with the rotation, the team had said repeatedly coming into October, we think we have enough pitching to patch it together around an offense we're expecting to be really good. And for me, Game 1 really showed the flaws of the pitching plan, but Game 2 showed how it can work if the offense delivered, so why didn't it?
Yeah, again,
they were stunned.
Yeah.
I think they got down, and this is a team that doesn't, for all of its resilience and fight, doesn't have that much fight. I mean, they haven't been this is the first pressure series they've been in what, 2 months?
At least.
And once they're down, even Paul Sewald was saying that, one of their relievers, is that once you're down 6 runs and 3 runs, that's huge. I'm thinking about last year. Freddie, at least, played well in the last year's postseason. Mookie's been terrible in 2 straight postseasons. I championed him for MVP of this regular season. But Dylan, what do you think about him in the postseason? He's been unbelievable.
Yeah, you know, and I
terrible.
think the first at bat in Game 1 went like 10 pitches.
10
It was a long at bat, you know. But since then, everything's been pretty quick, right? And
Really
that to
quick
me
out.
is the bigger issue, right? Is that like, and it's one thing, you know, if you swing at the first or second pitch and it's like middle. I mean, he's swinging second pitches that are
just off the plate.
just off the plate, right? And so you're kind of like, okay, well, right? And at least Freddie Freeman in the post-game locker room kind of owned it, right? He you know, kind of went through, right, the cutter that you talked about, right?
So he's not going to sleep tonight.
Yes,
thinking about
right.
it.
You know, Mookie Betts, it was like, I'm not here to talk about me. Like, what? Like, you're the highest paid player on the team. Like, are you out of your mind? You know, and look, and I get that everybody has different ways of dealing with stuff. And look, Mookie Betts, right, they don't win the 2020 World Series without him.
It's true.
I do kind of wonder, though, right, and it's going to raise these questions, right, fair or not, but he put himself in this position by, you know, having his podcast and being an avid bowler and just like disappearing now for 3 consecutive postseasons.
3 for his last 34 in the postseason.
Yeah,
going back
right.
to 2021.
Yeah, so right, you do that, and now I do think it's going to kind of raise these questions about commitment. Even the fact that, like, during the regular season, we were talking about how, well, maybe, you know, the fact that he's getting to play the infield now is like re-energizing him. Like, what, like,
Well, no, wait, I don't think you can question his commitment. I mean, the guy played 3 positions this year. He played out of his butt.
But I think
the whole season. He played hard all year. I think you can question his ability under pressure.
Yeah.
I think even on the Boston team, he wasn't their unquestioned leader. He's a leadoff guy. He's a leader, and he's wilting under the pressure.
Yeah. Well, he didn't play particularly well in that postseason, right, with Boston when he won.
Right.
Now, with the Dodgers one, he was the unquestioned, right? I mean, he was as dominant. I mean, that was as dominant as we've seen a player probably since like Manny Ramirez was here.
But there was
right?
nobody in the stands.
Yeah.
It was
You're
all
right.
tampered
You're right.
down.
Yeah.
And a lot of his big moments came in the World Series when they were playing with a lead for a lot of it.
Right.
In this series, I think one of the big differences and challenges for this lineup and those 2 guys in particular is every at-bat, it feels like they're behind the 8 ball.
They're behind the 8 ball.
They're trailing, they're pressing, they have to try to score. Now, neither Mookie or Freddie, you know, said that they're putting too much pressure on themselves or that they feel like the team is necessarily pressing. But it's clear that when you're getting these opportunities and you feel like you have to capitalize on them just to keep your season alive in some ways. Like, this game really felt like one that the Dodgers needed just to kind of give themselves any chance to not only win this series, but kind of position yourself well going forward. Now, you got to win 3 straight. If you do, you're going to be in a really tough spot pitching-wise when you get to the CS. Like, this was a game they really had to win, and I think you saw some of that pressure pop up in some of those at-bats where even Dave Roberts said in his postgame he didn't like the quality of at-bats once guys got on base. He felt like they were chasing pitchers' pitches. He felt like that they were too often making it easy on Arizona's pitching staff, which, especially in some of those later innings, were throwing out kind of the middle part of their bullpen, the part that a team like the Dodgers should be able to get to, and they couldn't.
Can I say something real quick? It's kind of like a little off topic. You brought up the Roberts going up to the mound and making that pitching change, but the next pitching change when he took out Gratterall. Mm-hmm. What are these fans doing, booing the guy?
Yeah, I mean, look.
It's October. They're used to booing him in October.
I know, but it's just like, watch the game. Dude.
I know.
I mean, there's a reason that only the in-game hosts call Dodger fans the best fans in baseball, right? I mean, this is just like, pay attention, you know? Like,
I believe he took out Gratterall to bring in Brazier, right?
Yeah.
He did.
And he's been the best reliever.
Yeah, and Gratterall, he took him out after. That was the longest outing that Brusar Gratterall's had in his career in terms of pitching in 3 different innings. He had issued a 4-pitch walk. I actually think of all the guys who had to deal with pressure tonight, Dave Roberts probably handled it best with the way he navigated the bullpen.
Most important stat of the night, and it'll be in Jack and I's story in LATimes.com, of all the teams that have visiting teams in a 5-game series that have won the first 2 games on the road, they're 28-3 in that series.
Yeah.
The Dodgers have a long, high hill to climb.
you think it'll be 28-4 now, right?
28-4, baby.
Yeah, and I think
I'll see you here Saturday night.
not only being down 0-2, but losing this game where you did have to go basically a full bullpen game, and it, for the most part, worked. Like, they still only gave up 4 runs in the regular season. If they gave up 4 runs, they were usually winning those games. And to me, as I kind of project forward here, like, that's the troublesome part, is that all these same patterns about them being unable to capitalize on the big opportunities at the plate, playing from behind, putting themselves in bad positions and not being able to get out of it. It's the same story we've seen in each of the last 2 postseason eliminations. You could go back to the National Series in 2019 as in sort of a similar boat. And now you have all that pressure mounting down on you as you face this 0-2 deficit.
I still think we're coming back Saturday. I think we'll be here Saturday, Game 5.
So what gives you that confidence?
I just think they're a better team than the Diamondbacks. And I think at some point it's going to, maybe all the pressure's on Arizona now to finish it off. Maybe the Dodgers realize they have nothing to gain now. They're going to probably lose. Everything's against them. Maybe they'll relax.
So I think Game 3, for the fact, yes, Lance Lynn's starting. Ryan Pepio might factor in at some point. Now, it's also the D-backs weak pitching game. They probably will start Brandon Pfaadt, their rookie. It'll be kind of a bullpen game for them.
And he was terrible in the playoffs.
If you get that one, you have Kershaw going back out. Maybe he's motivated to make up for Game 1. I think that's the path.
You get Bobby Miller back here at Game 5.
But I think most of all, you're going to need 3 really strong games from the lineup. And Dylan, from what you've seen so far, like, how confident are you that they'll be able to get that?
Yeah, just again, to me, the disconcert, I think, Freddie Freeman, Game 1, walked twice, right? He got on base today on kind of a fluky little hit, whatever. But again, I didn't think his at-bats were terrible. I thought Betts was a little bit more disconcerting. And I still think that, while obviously Freddie Freeman had a great year, you could make a totally valid argument that, right, he deserves MVP consideration. To me, this is still, Mookie goes, the team goes, right? And I don't like anything I've seen. I didn't like what I heard in the locker room afterwards. You don't really like this, right? I mean, the only kind of saving grace here is that, Game 1, Will Smith hit, right? Game 2, J.D. Martinez hit. Mm-hmm. And they, in theory, are kind of the protection for the 2 big guys up top, right? So,
Max Muncy can do a little bit of hitting maybe too.
And the platoons at the bottom, which tonight, like you mentioned earlier, didn't come through when they really needed them to. The D-backs went to a lefty in the 6th inning instead of letting Gallen face David Peralta, Jason Hayward. Yeah, Chris Taylor drew the walk. Yeah, Kike Hernandez got kind of lucky on the infield single that Ketel Marte knocked down, but they couldn't deliver a bigger moment. And then Colton Wong, who was the last guy on this roster because they wanted the extra left-handed bat, ends the inning with a weak ground out too against a right-handed reliever.
You just go through those names though, right? And again, I get the left-right balance, whatever, and it's better than having like a total like automatic out, but this isn't.
It feels like when we said Steven Souza Jr. was taking a big at bat.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of.
Did you guys notice the song that played when Colton Wong made the last out of the game? Don't worry about a thing. Worry, Dodger fans. Worry a lot.
All right, so you think we're coming back Saturday? Are we going to be back here Saturday?
Yeah, just because, and then maybe they lose 5. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked.
They come back for Saturday, they're not losing.
Yeah, I just think, again, and look, Mookie Betts is still Mookie Betts, right? And I don't, there's going to be a day in between. I mean, who knows? Maybe he just like rolls out of bed one day and like finds it, right? Which kind of seems like how it goes sometimes.
But you can't blame it on his bowling, okay? You blame it on his bowling. Come on, Dylan.
Well, maybe
it's not the fault of his bowling.
Okay, well maybe he should go bowling then. I don't know. Jack, you're from Phoenix. Do they have good bowling lanes?
Yeah, there's a Lucky Strike downtown.
You think Mookie should go to Lucky Strike?
I don't think bowling's going to be the answer there. I think it's going to come down to the quality at bats and staying composed in those moments and doing what this guy's saying. Try not to worry. Not a great spot to be, though.
I don't know. I think they were like thinking everything was going to be all right. And that's how they ended up in this.
And then Mookie had to go bowling. Oh, it's his fault.
All right. Well, we will have every angle of this covered on LATimes.com. We'll be in Phoenix for games 3 and 4. We'll have more to talk about if there is a game 4. We'll see. Who thought we would have been saying that about the Dodgers?
Yeah, you know what? Actually, it hit me that the other day I wrote that Clayton Kershaw will pitch in this postseason again.
You wrote that?
I wrote it like it was like a fact.
Well,
there'll be game 4.
Yeah, we might have to issue a correction.
We'll find out. Game 4 is on Wednesday.
Headed my way.
Game 3 is on Wednesday. I can't keep the day straight. But thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.